Tony El Cucuy Ferguson is the topic of today's video. And with that, hello and welcome guys to Bloodsport MMA.
Salam alaikum. Walaikum salam.
Tony Ferguson is on a 5-fight losing streak and he is still in the UFC, so he needs a fight. What makes sense for Tony Ferguson at this stage in his career? Before we get to that, guys, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I would highly appreciate that. Click the button below. Thank you very much in advance. So Tony Ferguson is a special human being. He was on a 12-fight winning streak. I think he's the first guy ever that was the interim champion and had to fight for another interim belt. Like he defended or attempted to defend his interim belt, which is nuts. Tony Ferguson got done wrong back in the day. Like 12-fight winning streak, was never the real champion, which is insane on a 12-fight winning streak. Was the interim champion. For me, in my heart, and for many fans out there, he was the real champion back then. Because how can you not love Tony? He's a weirdo, but how can you not love him? Even though he has been blocked on Instagram for whatever reason. He did a wrong decision back then. Fought Justin Gaethje on kind of a short notice. Was preparing for a wrestler in Habib and got banged up. Since then, and I honestly believe that. You have your own take, maybe write it in the comments, but in my opinion, that fight changed Tony Ferguson forever. He was always a weirdo when he fought, but since that fight, he's never looked close to how he looked before, in the fights before. I mean, watch Tony Ferguson versus Pettis or versus Kevin Lee, and then watch Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz, bro, you're crying. You're actually crying. Hold on, brother, I'm crying.
Hold on, I'm talking, brother.
He's on a 5-fight losing streak right now. It's pretty rare that someone on a 5-fight losing streak is still not cut from the UFC. Dana didn't even talk, if I'm right, about cutting him or something, because it's Tony Ferguson. He's the fan favorite. Everybody loves him. I never met someone that said Tony Ferguson sucks. So he needs to fight. And I know he wants to fight. The problem is, I don't believe he should fight, because if you look at his performance against Nate Diaz, it did not look good. It did not look good. Like, I was really sad when I saw his performance. He did not look like Tony Ferguson anymore. And it hurts me that Li Jingliang is really calling Tony out still. Like, Li Jingliang would murder Tony, honestly. And it's so sad that we even consider that fight. Because at this stage, I know the UFC does not want people to retire and leave on a win. That's also why Shogun Rua didn't get the easy fight on his last fight. But come on, please UFC, it's Tony Ferguson. Please give him a fight that he at least has a chance to win, please. That's why I will give you my take, what makes sense for Tony. Tony moved up to 170. Not officially that he won't come back, but I don't think Tony will fight at 155 again. But it doesn't really matter, because we don't need Tony to fight a ranked opponent or an opponent where it really matters if they fight at 170 or 155, because they're not going to win a championship anymore. I don't want Tony to fight any young guy. Not any young guy. Don't even think about matching Tony up with a young guy. Don't even think about it, UFC.
Hey, I'll ankle pick you.
Tony needs a older guy that is also slow, because Tony looks slow right now, that he can win against. At least has a chance to win against, that we at least think he can win. And I know people will bring up the Chandler fight. He looked so good in the first round. I agree, but that knockout was vicious. And compare the first round against Chandler against the first round against Nate Diaz. Different person. So that's why I said I want to see him against a older guy. My perfect opponent for Tony. In my opinion, that matchup to make, even though the guy's booked already, but Tony Ferguson versus Clay Guida at 170. Clay Guida still fights 155, even though I have no clue how he still makes that weight. He's like 700,000 years old. He's slow. He's really slow. I don't know how he wins his fights. He just kind of takes people down somehow and outgrinds them somehow by running around the cage all the time, because he's a legend. I love Clay Guida. I think that's a perfect matchup. I think they're pretty same in their speed. Tony could even have a speed advantage there. And I think Clay Guida is a guy who accepts any fight. Clay Guida doesn't care. Clay Guida and Tony, both legends of the game, both fighting in the UFC since forever. Would be an amazing fight. I would love to see that. I would be really excited for that. I would not be afraid or something because I don't think Clay Guida will knock Tony out. So that would be an amazing fight. I would really love to see that. Clay Guida is booked now in, I don't know, May or something against, I can't even remember against who. Make Tony Clay Guida in Ultimate Fighter in International Fight Week in July or August on the Conor card. Tony was a lot of times on the Conor card. Make Tony again fighting on the Conor card, making some money, and against Clay Guida. That would be an amazing fight. If that doesn't happen, if that somehow doesn't happen, this fight, then yeah, it's getting tough. But we can still find an opponent for Tony. Like, I don't know, in my opinion, even give it to Jim Miller. Jim Miller is still very good, but give him Jim Miller at 170. Hard fight, but still, at least not that fast and young anymore. You know what I mean? I just don't want to see him against a young guy. Give Tony Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz is also a good fight for Tony. Nick Diaz, I mean, Tony can revenge his fight against the Diaz brothers then because he lost against Nate. Nick needs a fight, both big names, but would sell like crazy. And Nick is definitely also slow. So, but Nick still has hands. So that would be a fun fight. So my first pick would be Tony Guida at 170. Second pick would be Tony versus Nick. And otherwise, I don't know, as I said, Jim Miller, whatever, Matt Brown, even though I think they are still better than him, but an old guy. And this is no disrespect for Tony at all. I'm a huge Tony fan, if you know me. I just want the best for him. I just want him to retire on a win, even though he probably wouldn't retire then, but still. And I just hope Tony gets out of this game somewhat still healthy. And Tony, we love you.
Tony Cucuy Ferguson!
With that, guys, write in the comments, what do you think is the perfect fight for Tony? Am I spitting nonsense? Is Tony still a title contender? Should he fight Paddy Pimblett? I don't know. Write all in the comments, guys. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and see you next time, guys. Eat your vegetables. Bye-bye. Blood spread out.
Eat your vegetables.